Okay, so we've finally moved on to the box in sequence 4. It's heavy, so I think there's quite a few more than one radio. And it's somebody called Graham. So, I think we'll open this one upside down. So he's got his from address, and I don't want him getting inundated with advertisements for incontinence aids or anything else that malicious people send. Ah, well, we've got a communicators, and we've got a communicators, and we've got a Cybernet Beta 3000. But you know what? If we start with the Cybernet Beta 3000, because we were doing a Cybernet set yesterday with the Harrier CBX, now there aren't many people who can service the communicators, so I'm pleased to get those. Good. I like them, nobody else does, but I like them. So no mic with that, that's fair enough. Right, well, we better open it up because I'm going to use the crocodile clips, and I don't know which one's positive and which one's negative. Well, sets don't get much better than the Cybernet Beta 3000 and its Radiomobile and Ford Roadmaster counterparts. So we'll run through it, see what it's doing. Just hoping it's not been messed with, but it doesn't look it. It looks as pristine as the Harrier CBX we did yesterday. So what have we got here? So positives, that one. So we need to plug in the test equipment speaker. We need to plug in the test equipment aerial. Hopefully this mic is not the right one. No, perhaps this mic's a Cybernet one. All I've got to do now is plug it in. There we go. Switch the power supply on. We're current limited. We want it on channel 30. Well, we don't. So, what am I talking about? We want it on channel 20, don't we? Right. So, we want a piece of paper and we'll start writing down. There we are. The printer cartridge ran out. That's a spoiled piece of paper. So, you know what? We've been from Yorkshire. We don't have to be wasting paper. Right, so we'll put down Cybernet 3000 and let's take it through its paces. So in transmit, I'll switch picture in picture and then we can both see these together, especially if the camera's on the right meter. There we go. Oh, well, that looks healthy. It's doing exactly 3 watts. Frequency, let's look at that together. Should be 2779125. It's 2779081. And I'll do that right now, and then it saves us having to mistune the signal generator. So it's the red trimmer there. We'll just get that done. Whichever way I take it will be the wrong way. No. Crystals drop with age, so we're bound to need pulling up. We have it just slightly above, so that it's got a bit more of headroom to drop. It makes these better than the Uniden ones, which don't have the adjustment. 2779126. We've done that. Deviation. Just give it a quick whistle check. Wallow. 1212. Our test thing doesn't seem to be showing anything. 12. 1 2 1 2. That's too loud. It's 3.8 kilohertz. It needs to be no more than 2.5, so that needs sorting. And transmit power needs sorting. I'll just go back to that meter wallow so you can see that. So we'll go over to receive. So we want 2779125 on the signal generator. Okay, so let's turn the volume up. Make sure that the RF gain's at full. .3 of a microvolt on the signal generator, and let's put the cyanide meter on and let's just see where it is. So at the moment, for 12 dB, it is, make sure I'm reading the right scale, 0.43 microvolts for 12 dB cyanide. So that already exceeds the 0.5 which the manufacturer reckons it will do. So we'll just look at 20 dB because sometimes we can not improve the 12 but improve the 20. Not always, but sometimes. So for 20 dB it is 1.35. Okay, we'll get into it. We'll get the test meter out. We want to make sure, just turn the volume down, just make sure that the VCO is set correctly. So we want our negative prod on chassis. We'll use that handy point there. It's the resistor just there, far side of it is the test point. We want to be on channel 40. And it's supposed to be 4 volts, I thought. I did one yesterday. I thought I was going to remember between yesterday and today, but my sieve memory, you know. Yes, 4 volts. I nearly remembered. Okay, so we're just going to adjust the coil there, so we do have 4 volts. We'll have it just under like that. Go into transmit, and just put the meter back on there. And in transmit, it needs to be 4 volts. We just need to pop that up a bit with the red trimmer there. Doesn't matter which way I go, it'll be the wrong way, always is. That'll do me. 3.93. Let's go back to receive. It's 3.98. Go back to transmit. 3.97. That's fine. So now we go to channel 1, and they need to be between 1.8 and 2.5 volts. And there we have on receive 2.15, and on transmit 2.19. So that's reset. Otherwise you end up with channels disappearing off into hyperspace, especially with temperature differences. So that's that. So let's see if we can bring up the, we need to go back to channel 20. See if we can bring up the transmit power. We'll just go through the coils here. Maximum. And that one was very slightly out. So we want to maximise these three, L4, I'll just move the light there. We need to maximise these initially so that they're all the same. So maximum has brought that up to 4.1. Maximum still at 5.1. Maximum 4.9. Just go very quickly through these. I don't want to thrash the transmitter. There we are. So what they want you to do is to take, just bring the book of words just so that we're not lying to you. L4 is clockwise for 4.4 watts. That's L4, so clockwise for 4.4 watts. And that's there. And then, when I can get the tool back out, they want you to do L9 counterclockwise for 3.8 watts. Now, that's when they're doing these at the factory. Remember, they've got to be tested at customs. They'll be sample tested. And if any radio did even 4.01 watt, the whole batch, the whole container load would be rejected. This is why radios come into the country doing about 3 watts. So they're expecting the vendor, the shop, to actually do the final adjustment, but they don't. They just box shift, don't they? So it's counterclockwise for 4 watts. And there we have it. Now we need to just check that it's somewhere near on channel 40 and channel 1, that it's balanced right. And it's 4.0 something on channel 40, and it's spot on the 4, or 3.99 on channel 1. So that's well within what we would expect. So while we've got looking at the power, we'll see what the meter says on the front. Boing. Well, what we best do on this is to set it on low power. So we'll switch to low power, which should take us to, is it on the back on these sets? It is. Little switch on the back. So it's supposed to be 0.4 of a watt, so it's 10 decibel attenuation from 4 watts to 0.4 watts. And at the moment, as you can see, we're at 50 milliwatts. Now these presets are usually dirty. Now these sets are 40 years old. Quick clean there. Waggle it about. And there's 400 milliwatts. So on 400 milliwatts, that's supposed to be one dot. Well, it isn't. So we'll realign that. So with that preset, we want that to be 1. If it'll do it. So there we are. Not quite 2, it's 1. There we are. And now, when we go to 4 watts, we've got all 4, and we know that it's correct. So that's the procedure there. Now with the deviation, it's a bit high on this. We need to put that one to the centre, which we have done. Get our little oscillator out. Drop the soldering iron on the floor. How did that happen? There must be a ghost. So bring that down. I was actually on full, that's ridiculous. So that's 2.5. Let's see where it is with a whistle test. Wallow, 1 2 1 2, wallow. It's a fraction over that. One to one to one. Oh, that's better. So it must be between 2.2 with a never exceed of 2.5. So somewhere between 2.2 and 2.5. And there we are. So our transmitter is now spot on. What about the receiver? So first of all, we'll do the detector coil, which is the one just here. Without that, you're going to end up with garbled receive. So I want an S9 equivalent signal. That's 100 microvolts in the UK for S9. We're talking about CB, we're not talking about amateur radio where it's 51 microvolts for S9. So, with the oscilloscope on, we'll just select that on the camera. And that's just connected across the extension speaker. It's just a very basic oscilloscope. It's a 10 meg one. It could be a 1 meg one. It really doesn't matter. We're just looking at audio at 1 kilohertz. And what we're going to just do is make sure that we've got the maximum recovered audio. So you see, if I turn up the volume, it gets bigger, doesn't it? So if I can find the actual tool we use, which is that one, we'll just make sure it is. No, it isn't. Okay, so that's quite an improvement. So that's his garbled audio improved. So now we'll go on to the sensitivity. So I'm going to drop we'll go over to the Cybernet meter like that, and now we'll drop the signal until the Cybernet meter reads about 4 decibels. And the idea is we can't make adjustments if you're saturating an FM receiver with signal. So we'll drop the signal, use the fine attenuator, quite a weak signal, around there, 4 decibel, and we'll go through these. So we want it to move to the left for better sensitivity. There we go. We can now drop the attenuator a little bit because we made an improvement. Over to that one. Not a lot there. I'm just going to put a bigger signal on for that one. We'll put 12 dB on. I'll go back to that at the other end in a moment. Improvement there, drop the attenuator fraction. Improvement there, drop the attenuator fraction. And there's another coil hiding under the wiring harness there. Might be a slight improvement there as well. Just go back to 4 decibels. Just make sure we're right with this. I'll tell you what, we'll go through these 3 again. No, that's still spot on. That's still spot on. Because it can be interactive. There we go. Now we can read off what we've achieved. So for 12 dB, I'm right between scales like ever. So it was 0.43 before, it's now 0.35. So it was already exceeding the specifications. So that's now, so we've done 4 watts, we've done 2.2 to 2.5, we've got 0.35 now, and let's look at 20 dB. Again, I'm between scales, I'm reading 1 for 20 now. And on the other scale, I'm reading 0.95. So let's say it's 0.97 between those scales. So it's now 0.97. I'd say I like them to be under 1. It is under 1. That's a great result. It's actually working better than yesterday's Harrier, but the thing is, they differ, aren't they? You know, you can buy 10 radios all the same, and they're going to be slightly different, but they all are exceeding the manufacturer's specification, which is great, especially when they're 40 years old. So, let's look at where the S meter is. So we'll put S9 on the radio again, which is 100 microvolts. That should be S9. Well, it doesn't have an S9, does it? So we're going to have to just fiddle around until it isn't plus 30, which it isn't. It's probably about spot on, to be honest. Yeah, it's spot on. As it was spot on. There we go. So I can bring up the signal generator and it comes up. We can also now set the squelch. So I like the squelch to be a maximum of 100 microvolts. So what we're going to do is put the squelch to full. Now I've got 30 microvolts on the signal generator, so let's just put the signal generator attenuator controls on. So we're at 30 and 0, well 10, so it's 30 microvolts. And at 100 microvolts I want the squelch to come in. Try that again. It's spot on. It doesn't need adjusting. But if it did, it's the preset just there. Now it's not often I don't have to adjust that, and I didn't have to adjust that. So apart from the deviation, it hasn't really been fiddled with. Now, somebody's turned it down to 3 watts. You know, people think they're turning them up, but they don't know the sequence because they can't be bothered to research the service manual. So I'm looking at the capacitors. I can't see any distress on any of the capacitors, and I think that's absolutely great. So that's it. We're done. That was so straightforward. I'm really pleased. So what we'll now do is we'll put the lid on and just check the loudspeaker works. Screw it together, and see if anybody's on. So I've disconnected the instrument speaker. That's the internal speaker. Okay, we'll get that screwed together and we'll come back to it with the aerial plugged in. Okay, so to conclude, it's now in the evening and we can switch picture in picture off, and we can whop round the channels. Okay, well, usual nothing and a load of silliness on 19. So there we have it, a very nice Cybernet Beta 3000 from 1981. I will do the on-the-air test with Mr. Chippy tomorrow. Thanks for watching.